Hi, everyone. Welcome to our event. This event is brought to you by DataTalksClub, which is a community of people who love data. We have weekly events. Today is one of such events. If you want to find out more about the events we have, there is a link in the description. You can check it out and see everything we planned. Then there is also a subscribe button. If you see subscribe, you should click, because this way you will subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notifications about all future streams we have. Then last but not least, we have an amazing Slack community where you can hang out with other data enthusiasts. The link is also in the description. During today's interview, you can ask any question you want. There is a pinned link in the live chat. Click on that link, ask your questions, and we will be covering these questions during the interview. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I already see some of your answers. So Luca says that they work as a data scientist and want to become an AI engineer. That's really cool. So right now I'm opening the questions that we prepared for Ruslan, and we're ready to start. Hi.
Hello.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so today we have Ruslan. Ruslan is a GenAI engineer at Finance Guru, where he builds production systems around large language models and generative AI. Before moving into AI engineering, Ruslan worked as a data scientist at Smart Steel Technologies and OLX Group. And this is not the first time we have Ruslan on this podcast, and I know Ruslan pretty well. We've known each other for I don't know how many years, quite a few. We worked together at OLX, and at some point, Ruslan was a guest where we talked about biohacking, right? It was quite an unusual but also interesting episode. And today we welcome Ruslan to join us as a guest again. And today we're going to talk about AI engineering. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, Alexei.
So this week we'll talk about AI engineering. And before we start talking about like all the main questions, I want to ask you to tell us more about your background. Can you tell us about your career journey so far?
Yeah, sure. So my career journey actually doesn't start with data topics. I finished business administration program for my bachelor's, and then I worked in like business roles, like account management or customer success manager for a few years. But I realized at some point that it was a bit too boring for me, and I wanted to learn how to build stuff myself. And that's when I decided to try to transition and break into this data world. And then I joined the master's program that dealt with it, and I did some machine learning projects in the meantime. And that's how I eventually got my first position as a data science trainee or intern at OLX.
Okay. Then what happened then?
Then I worked at OLX as a full-time as a data scientist, and I did some cool projects there, and that's where we've met each other. And since then, well, funny part is that at that point, Lex was also laying off some people, and I got affected as well. And then I was looking for a new job, and I landed a job at the Smart Steel Technology, where I worked as the title was data scientist, but basically I was machine learning engineer because I developed machine learning models for production of steel, which was very interesting research field, and I learned a lot there. And back then, ChatGPT came out, and I was playing a lot with it, and I got really passionate about this Gen AI thing, and I started doing my projects back then. And since then, I did quite a few of side
You mean
projects of my
personal
own.
projects, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I wrote a Telegram bot that would help my mom practice her English, and some other stuff. And after I worked at Smart Steel, I decided that I want to join the AI engineering roles where I can actually dive deeper into LLMs, how you make applications for them, and how the users can interact with those kind of products. Because to me, it's very interesting as a new domain. So that is my journey into AI engineering so far.
Okay. So you started your career before data as account manager, customer success manager. I'm just curious, like, was it in any way helpful in your data career now as an AI engineer or before as a data scientist?
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting how non-data, non-technical skills actually steer your career as well. So for me, being an in account management, I learned how to communicate clearly, to set expectations, build trust with people. And that is very important wherever you work with other people. So it helped me at OLX, Smart Steel, and in Finance Guru now to talk to different stakeholders, understand their needs, their blockers, how can I help them, how to build trust with different stakeholders. So those are all transferable skills that are just important in life, not only in your career. So I'm thankful for those
Hmm.
years.
And do you have any recommendations for people who want to improve in this communication, setting expectations, all these things? Like one thing, we can work as account managers, but not everyone has the luxury of spending a few years doing that. Like if I work now as a AI engineer and want to get promoted to senior AI engineer, what kind of things I can learn to become better at these things?
So it's actually a lot of like practicing a few things that I think are important. So the first thing is try to be honest and have integrity in your communication. So say what you think, ask people for their honest opinion, and always be real with others. And this is how you're building trust with them. And then sometimes things don't go as you planned. So you need to also manage expectations of other people. Sometimes it means you need to say no. It means you need to bring some not so pleasant news forward. But again, if you're being honest and you're being real, that builds trust. And then
Mhm,
you might lose one account, but you might win it in the future back because you keep the human relations. And that
mhm,
applies to job search, to many other areas. Just be real, be yourself, be clear with your goals and how you can help another person achieve theirs.
mhm. Yeah, say what you think didn't really work out for me at school. Like teachers hated me. I hated them back, but like I think eventually for my adult life, it turned out to be quite a useful skill, even though
Yeah.
like it sometimes pisses people off. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, probably there is also like a fine line how exactly you say what you think, right? Like how to direct your answer. It's also, I guess it's another topic. But here I mostly wanted to talk to you about your career, your recent stages of your career, like becoming an AI engineer. So you said you worked as a data scientist, and then you worked like your role was more like an ML engineer, even though you were still called data scientist. And then ChatGPT came, you were fascinated, and you started building small projects. Like first project you mentioned was you wanted your mom to help learn English, right?
Yeah.
What else did you build?
I also was fascinated with the ChatGPT itself and how you can communicate with LLM. And I realized that, for example, the interface itself is a bit too linear for me, and I don't like it. And I built another system where you can branch out of the chats, and I called it Branch GPT. You can actually check it out, branch/gpt.com,
I
where
think
again
ChatGPT implemented this feature, right?
they
Now you can.
implemented it a bit differently than I
Hmm.
did, and I like my implementation more. So in my version, you can select specific text that you want to branch into, not
Hmm.
just the whole message, because one message can have so many points that you can want to ask about. So,
Hmm.
for example, there was actually a very interesting project because this was my first web app that I built. I needed to set up the backend, and AI engineering for me is more than just working with LLMs, but also understanding like in context management, but also building end-to-end systems.
Hmm.
So that was another thing that I did.
And I think I remember having this conversation with you, and you told me we had a lunch, and you told me about this project, Branch GPT. And this was a few years ago, right? Already. So when we didn't have these tools like Claude Code where that can write all the backend for you, you don't even need to think. Like you give a prompt, you
Yeah.
go have some tea, you come back, you have a working app. Like back then we didn't have this luxury, right? So you implemented most of it yourself, right?
No, it there was a moment when give me a second, what's it called? Bolt.new came out,
Ah,
which is
right, right.
also this autonomous agent that builds it for you. And it did like the early version was built by that, but of course I improved it later with like agentic engineering, not
Hmm.
vibe coding. Yeah,
Hmm.
so now it's like reliable and works proper. But yeah, back then I already used some tools because I think it's also part of my job is to be on top of all the latest tools as an
Hmm.
engineer. And like that's why I like playing with them and trying to make something useful with them as well. So yeah, I
I'm
already had
going
that.
I'm going to ask you about this, but later, uh, how you stay on top of that. But
Sure.
first, I wanted to understand like how exactly you transitioned to this role. So you built a few projects like Telegram bot, this web app, um, and then at some point you understood, you realized that you actually want to uh, do this full time, right? So how exactly, what did you need to do to make this transition? And when was it? It was more than a year ago, right?
Yeah, exactly. A year and a
So
half, a
back
bit more.
year and a half. So back then, like this role AI engineer wasn't even really there. Like it was only we would only start seeing these kind of positions, right?
Yes.
Interesting. So can you tell us more about this? Like how exactly the transition looked for you?
Yeah, so just for the context, I was working for Smart Steel Technologies and we did lots of like traditional ML, but also very heavy ML. We needed to do lots of feature engineering and like deploying these models, and we had lots of challenges back then. But I realized that AI engineering is just something that I'm more passionate about. I see it as an open field and that is not only already interesting, but is accelerating. There's nothing that I've seen before. So I thought it would be great to jump into that ship because it's just very new. So you can build expertise, you can build it fast because nobody knows what to do. And I was also pulled to the fact that nobody knows what to do with it. And I like discovering like these new fields and coming up with solutions. So in order to do that, I thought that I would actually do some more side projects. So I have specific Gen AI experience, but I was reached out by my current manager at Finance Guru, who said that like we've been in touch with him back when I was hired at Smart Steel Technology. I also got an offer from Finance Guru, and we had such a strong connection on like how we approach building projects. We're both very pragmatic, very yeah, like very agile, I would say, into building stuff. So because our philosophy about ML and data science and then Gen AI is very similar, we thought it would be great to work in the future. So when I realized that I want to explore Gen AI, that was the first company that I reached out to. And then after some few discussions, it was obvious that they also want to start a team in Gen AI, and I was basically the first choice. And I was very like humbled and very felt very honored, but that was my way in. So it basically started 1.5 years before I was looking for that job, just because I established relationship. And
How did the interview look like?
uh, I mean, my future manager asked me what are the projects that I did at the time, and I answered, and he asked me some very basic technical questions, but he said that it was such an open field. You don't know much about the requirements yet. Like he asked me about vector databases and
Mhm.
some, I mean, agentic stuff was not even back then relevant. People talked about RAGs, so I answered some of those questions because I was on top of these things. I was following everything. And he said, yeah, that's enough. You're more hiring for like a certain characteristics, I guess, and some energy and drive and passion. And
For
of
cultural
course,
fit.
yeah, exactly. And some track record that the person can deliver and actually build things
Mhm.
than specific requirements, because I
Mhm.
think that is what's going to matter much more in the future than just
Mhm.
specific skills.
Mhm. So, in a way, I don't know if I can call it luck, but more like you already had established connections, and this is what you capitalized on,
Yeah,
right? So I
exactly.
wouldn't necessarily call it luck because you actually did build this connection, so it just didn't happen accidentally by chance, right? But
Yeah.
because of this connection, you managed to get it. Mhm. How would you suggest people to also build these connections with people, even though maybe now they will not get the job, but eventually in 1 or 2 years, um, they will have these strong connections that it will be easier for them to get hired.
Well, I think that I would recommend everyone to just do their own AI side hustles
Hmm.
and just build projects that are fun for you. Especially, I specifically highlight fun because if you build something that's not fun, you're going to burn out quickly. And if you're doing something that's fun, you will do it for a long time and eventually you'll get better. And either you can maybe monetize this project or at least you can put it in your resume. And
Hmm.
I would also suggest to just apply and try to be yourself. I feel like many people, when they apply, they follow some patterns that you see on LinkedIn or in other resume, and you know, you just put another generic caption to their resume. And to me, that doesn't resonate much. So I would just ask, be yourself, try to show what your passions are, and just apply. Maybe you get a call with someone, you talk to them, you might not know, but in 2 years they'll hire you as a GenAI engineer.
Yeah,
And that's what happened to me.
that's really
So
cool.
so
Okay,
I
so
just
yeah,
like
please.
convert quantity into quality eventually.
Hmm.
You know, try, be yourself, have good intentions, and do something. And it is luck, but you're only lucky if you try stuff, I
Hmm.
guess.
There is a post I remember on the internet from the guy. His nickname is Wix. He is also an advocate for learning in public. There is a post on how to maximize luck. So there is like what the term he calls the luck surface,
Hmm.
right? So basically you want to maximize this luck surface. You want to establish as many connections as possible. You want to be as visible as possible. You want to build as many projects as possible, and you want to tell people about these projects. And then because your luck surface is large, so these accidents that happen just by chance, you have more chances of these things to happen, right? So I
Yeah,
really like this post, and you're a living proof that this is actually like something that works.
yeah, 100%. I
But
fully stand by it. I'll check out
mhm,
this post too.
mhm. I think I should find it and share it in the live chat. But in the meantime, maybe can you tell us more about what you do at work? So your title is AI engineer. What does it mean?
Oh, that's such a good and hard question. People have been asking me my whole career, what does it mean from data science to machine learning engineer? I would say that I identify a few competencies that I have that maybe would stand me up, make me stand out a little bit from other software engineers or like data scientists. So I know how LLMs work. That's one thing, and that means that it allows me to prompt them better, to build systems with them better. I have the specific ML skills that help me to fine tune the model, even though there are interfaces for it. But I know that basically my tool set is bigger and wider. So whenever there is a business need to solve certain problem, because I have more tools to my knowledge and to my availability, I can solve this problem more efficiently or faster. Um, and then I think as AI engineer, I'm developing more into the full stack one uh, universal soldier that can make it all. Because nowadays the speed is what's most important, I think. All LLM-enabled applications, they're very new. So many users have interacted with ChatGPT, but they haven't interacted with voice. So you need to build lots of stuff in order to validate what works and what doesn't. And for that, you just need speed. So because I
Development
know,
speed, you
yeah,
mean?
exactly. And because thankfully, thanks to Claude Code, you can develop much faster. I also think that I want to be an advocate of Claude Code and similar tools to show people how to use them. So that is another part of my role that I see. So I would say product discovery, being able to deliver fast. And whenever we are at the point in the company where we need to productionize something, then I have the skills like the full stack, the system design overview to actually build it and execute it. Of course,
Mhm.
with the help of backend developers, with the help of DevOps, with the help of designers, front-end people. You need, people to perform, to use their expertise when it's necessary, but at least I have something to kickstart this.
How large is the company where you work? It's like small size, right, or mid size?
Around 200 people.
200 people. Okay.
Yeah.
So I recently had an interview with Paul. Paul is also an AI engineer, and he works at a small startup. And what he said that this is a very full, like, what can I say, very full stack? Like it's a full stack role. You have
Yeah.
to do everything. And what you say kind of is similar to what Paul is saying, right? So this is a full stack role. But what about the core AI engineering skills? So you said like product discovery and all these things, but like as an AI engineer, because what you say also a backend engineer can technically do. A backend engineer can use Claude Code to deliver end-to-end application. They can also be an advocate of Claude Code. They can show everyone how to use it. They can do product discovery. Now, what is the difference? Sets apart, what sets you apart from backend engineers?
Yeah. So to me, the AI engineer is is someone who knows the latest things in AI engineering, so to say. Because in backend, you generally have certain patterns that are established, and the person who knows and navigates around them comfortably is a backend engineer to me. And while I can ask Claude Code how to do that, some stuff that if there is just an article that has been published about, there is another, I can give you an example. Non-reasoning models follow instructions better if you simply duplicate the instruction. And because I know this, and because I'm always staying on top of the field, we actually implemented it and we saw an improvement in some responses of the LLMs we get. So that is my expertise, means that's the field that I'm constantly researching. And that's why I can build these systems better. Even though nowadays with Claude Code, that can research very well for you, everybody can do it.
Hmm.
So to me, that is one thing. So actually doing the core work of AI engineer of enabling the LLM, giving the proper context, um, is something realizing what has to be in that context, doing the evaluations around it. That is what I would consider core AI engineering. But that to me comes a bit later once you have already established the product, once you have verified that it is something that users need, they see value in it, and so on. And until you have established that, you need to focus on product discovery. And it's just so happened that up until this point, this is what I've been doing. So once you have a proper use case, you would actually start optimizing again the prompt, you would optimize latency, you would optimize cost, maybe try smaller models and fine-tune stuff and do other tricks with context management.
Hmm.
So it all comes in stages, and depending on what stage your project is, you need to exercise different skills.
There was a recent post on Twitter, maybe you saw it, from Andrei Karpathy. Somebody saw that he's working on analyzing jobs, like there's a database with jobs in the United States. So what he did is, at least this is what these tweets claim. I have not seen a post from him personally. So he analyzed all these jobs and he ranked them how easily it is to replace this job with AI. And the top ranking jobs are like software engineers, and the jobs that are least possible to replace are like rooftop. I don't know, person who is like taking care of rooftops, like plumbers, like people who work with by hands. And right now, coming back to what you were saying about product discovery, right? So, and I guess this is what everyone can launch Claude Code. Like you don't even need to know how to program and say, hey, build me a website that is doing this. And the current models that we have, they're pretty good at building things. So probably like with Opus 4.6, it will work from the first attempt, right? And
Yeah.
maybe from the second attempt after you. But what sets you apart from like anyone else is maybe this product discovery thing you mentioned, plus the core AI engineering skills. Because AI cannot really do product discovery, at least from what I understand. Maybe you can confirm or not confirm this. But can you tell us more about what product discovery exactly is and whether this is something we as humans should become better at to make sure we are not replaced by AI in the future? Or like how can we prove like future proof our skills?
Yeah. So I think that when you're building a product that is interacting with real users, you have an advantage as a human because you can understand better how real users behave, what they think, what they need. So, for example, one of the POCs we built is like you can chat with your own data. And because I was playing with my own data, I could understand way better um, what are the requirements and needs that I have. So that allowed me to identify what kind of structured outputs I need to do. Does that the LLM might need to suggest me next best action as a part of the structured output and so on. And that is something like coming up with features, coming up with requests is something that I have while interacting with that model that I guess Claude Code might struggle with. I mean, it's of
It
course a
will come
debate.
up with something, but whether it's useful or not, it's another question, right?
Yeah, and even if it would come up with it and if it would build it, you still need to show it to other humans to see how they react to it. Because I'm a biased person and we have real users. So, for example, one thing we're doing with our designers is that they are showing it to actual real users, and we're showing them the proof of concept, and we do this usability interview, like how do you find it? We just observe them interacting with it, and we come up with more features or realize what are the things we need to iron out so we can roll it out to more people. And that is again part of being an AI engineer, I guess, wearing lots of hats. Um, at this point, that is what we need to narrow down and really hit first, building something that's useful and brings value.
Mm-hmm. And designers and product managers are better at product discovery, right? So what if we fire all the engineers and just give Claude Code to designers and PMs and then let them program? What happens?
I think it's a very valid point, and I think that well, my take on it is that as one person, you cannot be on top of absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm.
We still need to specialize because it is my passion to read about agentic engineering, and I know lots of cool skills of Cloud Code. I can actually share it with other people, and that gives me an edge in developing better prompting techniques, better agentic architecture, and so on. Something that maybe I will do better than just the product manager with Cloud Code. So you still need to specialize. You still need to know the domain in which you're working. My domain happens to be the field itself. But if you are a data analyst, for example, the domain is absolutely crucial. And no Cloud Code right now, maybe in the future, unless it talks to other stakeholders and collects their requirements and ask them what specific thing that they might need for something they don't even know themselves, it would be hard to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I still believe that the best combination is human plus AI, not just human or not just AI. So I think we just need to give PMs access to more context so that their agents know, yeah, basically their context of work and they could
Mm-hmm.
work more productively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Interesting point. And also, these models, they have knowledge cutoff. So when I ask if I just start a project from scratch and ask it to implement me, let's say I take a picture of something and I want a structured output that describes what exactly on this picture, right? So what it will do, it will probably use chat completions, not responses API. It will try to inject the schema, JSON schema in the prompt instead of using structured output. So it will do all the things we were doing 2 years ago, not now, right?
Yeah.
And it might work, it might not work, but it will certainly be quite behind of what the industry is currently doing. And to me, this is, I feel like, okay, I'm actually useful. I can now tell the agent, hey, like, don't do it this way. Like, check how to do this properly here, and then re-implement and then come back.
I think I will push back on that actually. I
Okay.
think that Claude Code or Cursor with the plan mode and web search actually fixes this. So
Okay.
whenever I develop in a new framework that I'm using or I use a new library, I first thing I do is I go in the plan mode and I ask, please research the documentation for my specific use case so that then it's up to date. I think there are even skills for Claude Code and like plugins for Cursor that allow you to check up the documentation itself dynamically. So you don't even need to worry about that. Um, so yeah, that is
Okay.
one thing. And for the discovery of new stuff, I also have some tips that I could share with you.
Yeah, there
Um,
is already a question, which is probably related to what you were going with. Could
yes.
you give us some resources that you use to keep updated about new findings in the industry? But for me, it would be, I would extend this question to also ask you, how do you keep yourself up to date? Because I open Twitter and sometimes it's so many new things, and I'm like, no, there's no way I can deal with all that. I mean, recently, last week, it was just auto research from Karpati in my entire timeline. I don't know what is so special about this, but at least there were not so much diversity. But sometimes you open like this new tool, somebody is building a site project and making like, I don't know, 10,000 per day with this, and then somebody else is doing this, and then I'm like, okay, like it's a lot of information. Like, so I have my personal way of dealing with this, but what is yours?
Um, for me, it's also Twitter, X. That is my biggest source of inspiration. I also check Hacker News sometimes, and I follow some Telegram channels. I mean, some of them are Russian speaking, but mostly 95% of all the stuff I find out is X.
Mhm.
And X for me is also about um, just like the newest, hottest thing right now. But when it comes to actual hands down work and tips and choices, I usually go to meetups and I just talk to people and I ask them what do they use. Because I know that it might be battle tested. And for me, it's just more valuable to ask someone in person what do they use or reach out to them online and hear about their experience than just reading about it from a random person on Twitter that I've never met, never heard. Because I just have trust element to what the person I know
Yeah.
says. Uh, and yeah, you are right that there is a lot of noise, a lot of garbage information out there, a lot of
But even if it's not garbage, like it's just too much.
it is too
Like let's
much.
pretend it's not garbage. There is no fake information,
Yeah.
which is not true. But like you open your feed and like all the links you see are actual valid things. It's still a lot.
Yes. So maybe one useful tip is I also buy subscription for X, regardless
Hmm.
of how controversial the whole platform is. I still find value in the subscription because it's the only LLM or chat that actually looks through the tweets, right? Because Twitter limited the chat, uh, limited access to that data. And because many people who are in the industry, they are talking on X, this is the LLM, this is the chat that knows the best. So Grok is really good at finding the SOTA, state-of-the-art models. And whenever I need a certain approach, like how do I do evaluations or agentic design in 2026, I just go on Grok and I ask there. And then I know that it aggregates for my particular request the best practice.
Yeah, and John in the comments is same exactly the same thing that was his also experience with Grok and my experience too. Like I also have a subscription and I really like XAI for its Twitter search or X search and Reddit search. Like when I usually say, hey, I have this question, please restrict your search only to 2026, posts from X and posts from Reddit and also sometimes Hacker News because
Yeah,
I'm interested in what people share, not because right now we have so many articles that are generated.
yeah,
Like I don't know, you open a Medium article and you don't always know if a person wrote this themselves or not, or there is a company blog post. Let's say I recently was preparing material for AI engineering questions. And if you just Google questions for AI engineers, you'll see a lot of posts on websites, and you don't really know whether they just asked ChatGPT, hey, what is the list of top AI engineering questions, and then just copy pasted it, or they actually did some research there, right? So
yeah,
that's why I restricted to X and Reddit, and it works super well. So it's totally worth it. Like this $8, €8, I think. This is how much we pay, right? It's
yeah.
totally worth it to me too.
And I want to highlight once again the value of personal relationships, you know?
Hmm.
If you are building stuff, you're building in public and then you just meet people and they share their knowledge with you. I already learned about how to maximize luck stuff from you today that I have not
Hmm.
heard about before. I mean, it was something intrinsic to me. I guarantee you that the more people you talk to, the more stuff you learn every day, because that's maybe something they tried out and they found useful. So to me, that's also a huge filter.
Hmm. Okay. How often do you go to meetups?
Oh, right now, because I moved to a new city very often, I actually
Very often.
organized my own meetup as well
Okay.
last week, which was pretty cool. And it was called AI Side Hustlers Club. So I wanted to
Okay.
specifically gather people who are doing some side projects and so we can learn from each other. And I'm already learning lots, so it's really fun. I live by that belief that you need to establish connection.
Mhm. So how did you go about creating a meetup?
I mean, you just post on meetup.com and people are pretty active on the website, so they just sign up
Hmm.
and
So that was
then
it. You buy subscription, you create a group, you set an event. How did you go about finding a venue?
uh, I had to walk around bars and restaurants to ask for stuff. I also called
Okay.
some co-working spaces, but they wanted to charge too much.
Uh,
So I asked a friend who works in a restaurant if we could use their space, and then I talked to the owners, and they, yeah, sure. And
okay.
that's how we got the room. So it was very
Hmm.
cute and nice and very cozy, like
Did
non-corporate.
you did you have like presenter with slides, or it was just okay, we get together and now let's everyone share opinion? Like how did you? What is the format of the meetup?
Yeah. So my idea is that again, it's non-corporate, it's not
Mhm. So
networking,
no
it's just
slides, no presentations.
so I want people in the future to like showcase their work. So again, we can ask questions like, what did you use here? How did you solve this? But at least for the first meetup, it was just us getting around, and I had a little speech in the beginning to say like, what are we doing here? And in the future, I want to have some presentations, but we also want to do it online and offline, like in the Discord server online. So again, people share and learn together in public. And I feel like there should be a place for events like that in absolutely every city, you know, so that you can just, like to me, building stuff like this is just fun and talking about it is fun. You know, I realized that it became my hobby just to do like side
Hmm.
projects with AI. And again, like you learn lots of stuff, you talk to other people, you share same experience, you know, and like make friendships. So it's just a really cool thing to do. I also saw that you were starting something like this, and I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it's very nice.
I'm
I fully support that. Everybody should
uh
do it.
well, in my case, this is something I want to do online, not offline. Um, but yeah, I think it's similar. I really like the way you approached it, because for me also, like when it comes to offline events, the biggest struggle is getting a venue. And I really like your, how to say, lean approach, right? Just get a restaurant. And then at the end, the important thing is just get people together, right? And then start making connections and yeah, build something together, or at least show what you're building.
Yeah. I think um, that is something that I have like learned a lot is that perfectionism is a very bad thing. Well, I don't want to swear, but like I always need to push back against my perfectionism. So this meetup I organized with a friend of mine, and we had so many plans. We wanted to make a website, and we also wanted to make the presentation, so we would need the screen. And eventually, we just did the meetup, and we just got people together. And I think that the imperfect meetup that happened is way better than the perfect meetup that would never happen. So the same goes for AI projects. Like I try to scope my projects to be as small as possible. And as imperfect as they are, some of them are complete and they're bringing some value. And, you know, some people are using it and it's fun. So that is also like a very strong advice from me. Is just build something small, learn something with it, and then move on to the next.
That's so cool. Tell us more about the side projects you have right now.
Yeah, one of them is a Chrome extension called Catch a Flat that refreshes Emo Scout page for you. It's like a
Email Scout,
class.
for those who don't know.
It's a classifieds, like a place where you search for flats, basically,
Hmm.
and
So
like
in
a
Germany, only in
marketplace.
Germany, right?
I think so, yeah. And but in Germany, it's like really hard to find a place to rent. So this extension refreshes the page, the search page for you in the background. So you just like run the extension. It refreshes the page, and whenever the new flat appears and it matches your search, you get instantly a notification on your Chrome. So that way you can actually catch a flat. Otherwise, it would be gone because too many people apply. And I have like 150 users, and I got 3 donations from it, which is super nice. Like I didn't expect anything, and it's completely vibe coded. Like of course, every now and then I ask Claude to review if it's fine, but I also open sourced it, so you know it's like very imperfect, but it works. And just like 2 weeks ago, I got a donation, and the person said they found a flat with it. I'm like, couldn't be better, you know. I
Hmm.
just had a side thing for like a week, and
Now you
now it's
can buy
working.
yourself a coffee, right?
Yeah, exactly. I
That's
wrote there
pleasant.
buy Club Mate, buy
Hmm.
Club Mate, which is like this Berlin drink with coffee.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then I also am building now an app for my phone that I'm gonna launch soon, and it's called Phoneless. And the idea is that you just spend less time on your phone. It sends you some funny notifications. So yeah, I'm working on many projects at the same time because I like to switch between them
Hmm.
and just have
Do you
fun.
understand correctly that these projects, the motivation is coming from your use cases, your struggles, like something you want to, because I guess you didn't think like, okay, what do I do? Let's build an extension for looking for a flat. Probably you had to find a flat yourself and you realized, okay, these are the limitations. This is how people go about this, and this is how I can automate it.
Yeah,
Correct?
exactly. Yeah. again, like my goal with the projects is maximize fun, and
Mhm.
solving a problem that I struggle with is fun for me. Or if it's a problem that like my friends or my wife is struggling with, like solving stuff for them and I can show them, look, it works. Like that gives me so much motivation. And that's why, before I thought like I should maximize productivity, I should maximize, like whatever the money I'm making with my side projects or like the stuff that I can put on my CV. And when I maximized those, I instantly burnt out and I was just stopped doing stuff. So maximizing fun, even though fun is such a like not the best word, but just passion, like be driven
Mhm.
about it, is my way of doing it. And that's why I'm consistently doing lots of stuff for, for like a year. So yeah, just like do stuff that gives you passion. Switch
Mhm.
between projects all the time, abandon them, whatever. Just do
Oh,
whatever
I
you
do
feel
this
like.
all the time.
Yeah,
Thanks
and
for the
like
advice.
don't feel bad about it because you're still doing something all the time, right? So that's the main point.
Okay, okay,
That's how I live.
interesting.
And that
Mhm.
was my revelation once.
So I also do a lot of side projects, but none of them are making money. Um, and I was thinking like, because you also open, I don't know if you tweet, uh, follow these people on Twitter. So some of the people I follow on Twitter, they come from this indie hacker community.
Yeah,
You
of
know this, right?
course.
Um, a few years ago, was it 5 years ago, there was like a big threat of people and we were sharing our Twitter accounts there and we would follow each other. And since then, I still follow quite a few people.
Hmm.
Um, and they're building side hustles. So they're probably also maximizing fun, but because in their community, it's quite common to also share like what works, what doesn't, and to share numbers, right? So they
Yeah,
share, okay, like I built this website and this is how much I'm making on this website, right? Um, and I'm like thinking, okay, like I'm maximizing fun, but maybe I'm leaving some money on the table because this is not bringing money me. Like I spent some time, but I'm not getting um, money back on that.
yeah,
Like, you said from what you were talking about, I had an impression that you all also try to do something like this, but well, tell us more about this experience.
yeah. So I think that if you want to launch a successful business, a project that actually does money, brings you some money, it requires a lot of different skills. You need to come up with an idea, validate it. You need to design a proper interface. You need to have a very clear product messaging. You need to actually build it to have a nice, smooth, fast front end or app. You need to have a back end. You also need to set up payments. You need to come up with marketing strategies, figure out the channels. You need to do the whole legal thing, which is just another world. So there are like so many components to it. And I believe that if you're doing a side project that teaches you one of those components, then by project number 20, you would probably gain lots of skills that like my idea is that I'm doing it as a side thing. Like these indie hackers, they go all in and they
Hmm.
mostly just go to like East Asian countries or wherever the cost of life is very cheap. They have some savings and they just grind for like 1 year. But that is not how I live. I enjoy my work-life balance. I love to spend time with my dear ones. So I just do these fun projects and I deliberately think like with this project, I want to learn an app development or I want to learn how to deploy stuff, or I want to implement payments. And my idea is that first of all, that makes me a better AI engineer, because now I have a much better overview of how these systems work on a bigger scale. But second is again, I'm doing something that might create me another source of income. And as I do more projects and I follow fun, then eventually I'll gain the skills to actually start something that would be like have a much higher potential for success.
I really like your attitude, and also what you mentioned is try to scope the projects to be as small as possible. So then you learn like one specific thing.
Yeah,
And if you approach this, you said starting a business, you break it down into multiple skills and you think, how do I learn each of these skills separately in isolation? Then by project number 20, you'll have like a good portfolio. And probably
yeah,
these people, indie hackers, they already have successful projects. So for them, they already have a playbook. So they already know how to take whatever works and replicate it in a new domain, which I don't have yet, right? At least like if I talk about SaaS, software as service projects, right? So it's quite interesting what kind of possibilities we now have with all these AI tools.
I think that again, each of us has like a personality, something authentic about you. And just as an idea, like because I've known you for a while, I know that your authentic personality is like bringing knowledge to people, and that could be your main business.
Hmm. Or maybe it
Uh,
is already.
it is already, but I'm just saying that, this is the stuff you feel natural doing, and that is the stuff I think you'll have most success doing further, and
Hmm.
like eventually it will bring you much more money. So that's why I want to emphasize like do something that feels good for you,
Hmm.
that you resonate with, that makes you just stay a few more hours at your computer after work every single day, after having a whole work day, because
Hmm.
it would feel less of an effort to actually
Hmm.
do it. Um, yeah, that was my message. So,
Okay, thank you. A few questions. I see a few questions. Question from John. Do you have any experience with AI hackathons?
I do. We did some inside the company, and that was super cool and interesting. And I actually really believe in hackathons because you
Hmm.
have this dedicated time, and everybody's super passionate and driven to do stuff. And because you have time constraints, you cannot do a perfect thing. So you have to do something quick
Hmm.
and dirty. And I know so many companies and like people who started their startups or side projects that originated in the hackathon. We're gonna do some hackathons for my community as well.
Hmm.
So if you can get your hands on any AI hackathon, just go for it. It's really fun.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So for hackathons, and in general for projects, one thing I see in the community often is there are people. For me, I don't have this problem. For me, I always, if I want to work on something, I always have like a pile of projects that I can choose from. Like I never have the lack of what to work on. But sometimes there are people in the community, and I interact with them often, that do not necessarily have this backlog of ideas to pick up from, right? Do you have any suggestion for them? So one suggestion could be to go to a hackathon, and then they would just give you a project to work on, or at least some idea they will push you towards some direction. But if I have a few hours per day and I want to spend on building something meaningful, can you suggest the source of inspiration for me to select a project?
Well, the approach that works for me is just do it, do something stupid. Do something you want to tell your friends about later and laugh about, you know?
Hmm.
Like just find the source inside of you. There's like, oh,
Hmm.
I made this whatever outfit checker that just sends some images to Dano
Hmm.
Banana and builds me an outfit because I don't know what to wear. Or like,
Hmm. So you
or
have to
just
have a problem, right? You don't know what to wear, and then you want to solve it,
yeah.
right? So
But all
maybe.
of us have lots of problems.
Hmm.
So just pick one. And also, many people think, oh, it has to be so big and huge, and perfectionism kills so many projects before people even start. So just pick a problem, ask
Hmm.
Claude Code how to solve it, let it completely vibe code it, but learn how to deploy it and show it to your friend, and this is your first project.
Hmm. How do I just pick one? Like,
I
what
don't
if I
know.
just, I don't know, I sit down, I stare at the screen, and like
You
maybe
don't.
you're
I
the
know an
wrong person
answer.
to ask.
No, I have an answer. You don't
Okay.
come up with an idea when you sit in front of the screen. The
Uh-huh.
idea comes in the shower, it comes when you go on a walk, it comes when you talk to someone. So just have a phone nearby to write it down. It never comes to me when I sit in front of the laptop. I run towards it to actually do something, you see?
Okay. Okay.
So that's why taking a break, dissociating from your daily, like from your
Hmm.
work, from your tasks, it has to be, it comes from lightness within you, not from something like I'm now super deeply focused and I come up with the best idea in the world. No, it should be simple and stupid. Like start simple. That's my
Hmm.
only suggestion.
Yeah. For me, the source of inspiration for projects to build is usually things I do. So I do something, then I see that something doesn't work the way I want. So there is a clear area for improvement. So recently, I was running Claude Code on my computer, on my laptop, but the problem is you close the laptop and it's not working, right? So the solution is I was thinking, what could I do? So I was thinking maybe I can run it on my old Android phone.
Mhm.
So I bricked the phone, so it didn't work out, but at least like I had fun destroying my phone, right?
Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, I just rent out a computer and then I SSH to this computer and then Claude Code is working there. But then I was thinking like, I don't want to necessarily open ports on this computer because somebody can hack in and break my computer.
Yeah.
What do I do? So then Visual Studio Code has this automatic port forwarding, like I don't know if you use it, but like it detects that something is running on this port and it automatically forwards it to your computer.
Mhm.
But what if I don't use Visual Studio Code? I mean, I use it, but what if it's not open, right? So I still want the ports to be forwarded, and then I ask Claude Code to implement a terminal app that is doing exactly that. And it was just a problem that I had. And there are so many problems I come across. This was just one of the examples that solve a problem I have right now. And I found out that there are so many problems I have right now.
Yeah.
Like the list is so long. And it's like I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I think that that is the very unexpected outcome of doing projects is that you just come up with more project ideas all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
So that's why you just need to start with one simple, stupid problem that bothers you, or you just want to try it out. It has to come from fun and from lightness for someone who's never done a project. But if you talk to someone who has been doing projects, all of them have like already 20 more ideas of what
Mhm.
to build next. So
Yeah. So you can talk to them, right?
yeah, exactly. Or just talk to them and ask, hey, what are you struggling with? And
Uh-huh.
they will tell you what to build.
Yeah, actually, some of the students of my course are doing exactly that. They say, I don't know what to pick up, and then I give them a project to work on. So, for example, right now, I want to create issues on my GitHub project through voice. So I just record a voice message to a Telegram bot. It
Yeah.
determines which project is it about, what is exactly the issue, and it just goes and create an issue on GitHub. This is a super simple thing, right?
Yeah.
Yet this is a problem I have, and I don't have time to implement it because I'm working on something else. So the student just implements.
Yeah.
So
Great.
if you're looking for ideas, you can just let me know, or maybe Ruslan too.
Yeah, I will definitely drop you a long list of stuff you can do.
Yeah.
And
Um,
yes.
yeah.
Oh no, I just wanted to say that I love working with Telegram. That's why my
Mhm.
first project was in Telegram, and I still have made so many bots, like the bot that translates from German to English for me, but in a natural way. And there is another cool way of doing it in Cloudflare that like you can basically deploy it for free and run it up to
Mhm.
100 requests per 100,000 requests per day. So Telegram
Mhm.
building stuff, highly
Yeah,
approved.
Telegram is amazing because like it's so easy to create a bot. You just
Yeah.
talk to bot father, and you have a bot.
Yes.
Okay. I saw a question at the beginning when we talked about your career. You mentioned that you worked as a data scientist and you worked, still your official title was data scientist, but you were more doing like ML engineering. But then while you were working on this, you realized that you want to work more on Gen AI stuff. So you became an AI engineer. And then somebody asked a question, do you think that there is no much future in data science?
I think there is definitely future in data science
Mhm.
because again, what do you define as data scientist? Depends on the company. In some companies like Meta, it's data analyst who might do some forecasting models, for example. But in other companies like OLX, where we work, data scientist is someone who develops machine learning models and deploys them and so on. So regardless of the definition, I think that for all the definitions, it's still valid. You still need to understand what you need to build. You still need to do some stakeholder analysis, understand what other people around you might need it. You need to properly have a clear product vision for that. So identify what would be necessary, what would be the MVP, how to properly plan out implementing it. So you could test and
Mhm.
verify, run some A/B tests, maybe have some baseline in the beginning. I still believe there is a
Mhm.
space for those professions, whatever they mean, but definitely it's going to be accelerated by AI agents who know your context and who enable you to build stuff faster.
Mhm.
So it is just a reality nowadays, especially it will be more relevant in half a year that you need to work with agents
Mhm.
as your co-pilots, co-workers. So just jump in faster. You can teach
Mhm.
others, maybe profit from it later. Who knows?
What about this perspective? So now with Claude Code, any backend engineer, any software engineer can do the work of a data scientist. So
Yes.
why data scientists are still needed if you just give I don't know max process friction to your backend engineer and they will train all the models, or will they?
They might, but again, I think that sometimes you need to spend time on the system to improve it.
Mhm.
So yes, they can build like some dashboards. Yes, they can build whatever, train a machine learning model. There was actually an article from Anthropic that Claude fine-tuned itself and so on. So found the data, made sure that it's high quality, did the fine-tuning, deployed the model and so on.
And that's how we got 4.6 Opus, right?
Yeah, probably. And you still need to spend time thinking about it. You still need to identify what are better requirements for the system and improve it further. So if you just need to get something done fast and dirty, using Claude Code is good. But if you are especially working in a company and there's just a higher standard for it, you need someone dedicated who thinks about it and
Mhm,
improves it all the time and again verifies that there are improvements. So I
mhm,
still believe that we will need all these
mhm,
people, right? I'm one of them. But you just yeah, the quality will be higher.
mhm. From what I see, data scientists have multiple superpowers that engineers don't necessarily have. One is this business acumen that usually engineers are more focused on building things and less focused on this, how did we call it, like product discovery, which is fine, right? This is something that PMs do. This is something that designers do. This is something maybe analysts are more involved, right? And data scientists, in my experience, they also have more this business exposure than engineers, right? So this is one of the superpowers. So data scientists are better at translating the requirements from business to machine learning terms. And same with the AI, I guess, these days,
Yep.
right? And another thing is what data scientists are really good at is evaluations. Like for engineers, this is more like a foreign term or more foreign term than for data scientists. But as data scientists, we have been doing this for a very long time, right? So we
Yeah.
know what it means to evaluate a machine learning model. And for AI, it's basically the same thing, more or less, right? The
Yes.
tools are different, but the approach is the same.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Do you have time for a few more questions?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Sure.
How about getting into the industry without a degree?
Um, Hard question. I think you need to maximize your luck field again. Talk to people. I mean, I know that some people join like as software engineers without ever getting a degree. I just met a guy recently who did that without getting a degree. So he had some side projects that he did, and that was good enough for the company to hire him.
Hmm.
So just do side projects. I don't see any other way, to be
Hmm.
honest. I think without like especially if you're only starting out, getting an internship is also a very
Hmm.
a valid way, but I haven't been looking, to be honest, at how many internship positions there are posted if it's still easy to get it.
Hmm.
So I would just say do your side projects. They will definitely be useful for you in your life. At least you can have some stories to tell, and at best they could also land you at the job.
Hmm.
So I would
And I
do.
remember when I worked at Elix and when I interviewed people, I never really cared about what they have in the education part. I never actually even looked at it, right? So,
Yes.
because like at the beginning, you have like some sort of summary, then work experience, and I don't even scroll to the education because like I couldn't care less,
Yeah.
right? Because for me, the important part is like whether they can do the job or not. And this is what I'm testing during the interview, but I don't really look at the education.
Yeah. I
Like
totally agree.
whether it's MIT or the university I graduated with in Russia, nobody knows about it. It doesn't really makes any difference. Well, maybe in MIT people are not maybe like people are definitely smarter there. But then my goal on the interview is to determine whether this person will be able to do the job or not. And while there's probably some correlation between having a degree, I don't look at this. Right?
Yeah, valid. I would also wouldn't necessarily look at it
Hmm.
myself.
Um, when working on personal projects, one of the issues I face is I run out of tokens very quickly. What do you do?
Use plan mode. Uh, Actually, I have a really cool tip. Use templates. Many people start projects and they just start out with like, build me a whole front end from scratch. And then obviously, in order to generate lots of files, like you're gonna burn lots of tokens. Why don't you just look up at the template from Next.js or something like this? That would save you a lot of tokens. So that's one. Second, haven't I tried to think clearly what it is that you're trying to build? For example, when working with front end, in the past, I just burned through lots of tokens because I didn't really have an idea of what I want to build. That's why I'm trying to learn Figma right now because it's apparently easier and faster to iterate there. But just like have a sketch, have a think about it, spend some 2, 3 minutes, talk to Code Superpowers has a skill called brainstorm that allows you to brainstorm very well with AI to really narrow down what it is that you want to build and then give it to plan mode so that it discovers what to build and how to build it fast. And yeah, I think that using already existing code, just reusing it with templates is good and having a
That's what
clarity.
Lovable is doing, right? This is what Bolt.new is doing, like all these bootstrap, I call them project bootstrappers. This is what they do.
Yeah. And maybe another little tip that I'm using a lot recently is that to get this clarity of what it is that I want to build is actually really hard, especially if I need to put it in words as a prompt. So what I do is like I just start the voice mode and I just completely dump my brain into it for like 5 minutes. I try to look at it from all the perspectives. Then I ask, please generate the summary and like structure my my thoughts. And then I give this as a prompt.
Mhm.
So I don't have to spend time thinking and properly phrasing stuff. I actually, let AI
So
do this job.
what's your workflow? Do you just create a new folder, start Claude session there, and do your brain dump, or you first use a web interface to actually understand what you want to build, and then you start a Claude code session?
Right now, I just use code session right away, and
Okay.
sometimes I would just like copy, like I did the Figma plugin a few weeks ago,
Hmm.
and I just also started from a template, and then I used the plan mode and just dumped my
Hmm.
brain into it. But in the future, especially when building interfaces, because that's like currently what I'm a bit passionate about, I want to learn Figma, so I would actually
Hmm.
start at least doing some very easy high-level mockups. You can also just, they're useful because you can pass them to Claude Code and it would implement
Hmm.
based on that.
So
And it
there's
gives me
MCP connection,
clarity.
right? Or
Yeah, yeah. Figma released MCP recently. But also you could just feed screenshots. That would work as fine.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Which
having a
plan do you
clarity.
use?
I use the $20 one. I mean, at
Okay.
work I have the $100 one because I
Okay.
use multiple things at the same time. But at work with $20, I think it's also, I like that it's limiting me in how much time I can spend doing it. So I
Hmm.
try to actually have like a deep focus, like think clearly when I'm using it. And also when I'm out of credits, I just, take a break and go play
Hmm.
guitar or like talk to someone.
Hmm.
So
Do you
that
use
helps.
Codex too?
No, I canceled ChatGPT
You
like a few
cancel that.
months ago, but I think I will take it again. Like I'll buy it again because I
I
had a
heard that
very
in
good
$20 you can get way more in Codex than in Claude.
yeah, like I'm still using Cursor and I tried all the models because I feel like to be on top of things, I need to try everything. But
Hmm.
like I still struggle to what exactly I would recommend. But probably Cursor, because you can try everything and it's a bit more visual for non-coders. And for coders, just go with Claude Code. You would get a
Hmm.
lot from just $20 a month.
Yeah. Also, I would recommend GitHub Copilot. It only costs $10 and it gives you way more than $10. Right?
Okay,
So,
cool.
right. Okay,
Mm.
last question. You have time for one
Yeah,
more.
yeah, sure.
Okay. So how do you find um, like now that we have this AI, do you think you learn more building with AI versus previously? Because maybe we cannot go deeper now with things and we just learn, I don't know, prompt engineering rather than something else. Do you think AI is helping us learn or actually preventing us from learning?
I think that the natural way of things is that people do not learn. They just vibe code and let it be. So
Hmm.
I had to realize that and then act against it. So now I'm trying to actually learn from what I code. So if it's a production system, I need to make sure I understand every single line of code that's being written. I mean, for my personal projects, sometimes not, but for the work ones, I do. And I think that is again a very powerful technology to let you grow your skill set. Um, so yeah,
Hmm.
just to TLDR, usually people don't know exactly what's happening when they vibe code. And I would recommend take your time, ask exactly what is happening on every line. Also, like rename things so that you have a clear understanding when you look at the code. And yeah, learn more because this is the best, the fastest way to learn right now with AI than ever.
And how do you decide whether you want to learn more about the project or not? Because, for example, I have a project. You know what Jekyll is?
No.
Jekyll is it's a static website generator written in Ruby. It's used in GitHub pages in almost all GitHub pages. So it's written in Ruby, and my site is very slow now. It uses Jekyll, so I decided to rewrite it in Rust. I don't know Rust, so I have to fully trust the LLM that it's doing the job right? Because
Yeah.
I don't even have the desire to understand what it writes
Mhm.
because it's Rust. I don't know Rust. The only thing I learned here is what exactly you need to do in order to build a Rust project. So I'm learning a little bit, but not really like I cannot say I learned Rust even though I have a project written in Rust that seems to work.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, it's the same for me with the TypeScript. And yeah, I do some stuff in Kotlin too. So I have a very comprehensive Claude.md, for example, that I
Mhm,
refer in Cursor as well. So I at least need to make sure I understand on a high level what's happening inside the code. And to me, that is enough. So I know roughly how the app structure is, what are the files that I have there, and how do they define, how the behavior is and so on. So I think you need to dig deeper only if you have to, and
mhm.
if you want running something that is like mission critical, then make sure you understand every line.
Yeah.
If it's just a project on the side, again, if you don't need to go deeper and it works, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Okay. I share this attitude, to be honest. Like sometimes I really want to understand what is happening, but with this project, I think like I actually wanted to learn Rust for I've been wanting it to like for the last 3, 4 years. So now I can finally create Rust projects, but I still have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, like us knowing one programming language is an advantage because I'm learning TypeScript now and I just do it with AI. So
Mhm,
Claude generated me like a whole, how do you call it? Like a study plan. And
mhm.
for all of the stuff that it describes, it shows me how it is related to Python,
Okay.
concepts. So for me, that is like a much more graspable. I don't think there is a TypeScript book for Pythoneer, like Pythonistas. So that really helps me learn it
Mhm.
faster. And that's what I would recommend. If you already know one language, learn other stuff in relation to that.
Okay. I think I've kept you long enough. Was really amazing to ask you all these questions. Thanks everyone for asking these questions. Amazing discussion. Thanks a lot, Ruslan, for joining us today. Second time. I would be really interested in catching up again, like maybe in a year, because you've been in AI engineering since it kind of started, it kind of formed. So it's really interesting to see your perspective on things. So thanks a lot for doing this today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Alexei. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess that's it for today. So everyone have a great week. Thanks, Ruslan, and see you around and enjoy the new city. And big